Mark Skaar on 103.7 The Fox. Proud to bring in Steve Conte. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Mark, and everybody out there in Iowa Radio Land?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in the Bronx, and it's about 70 degrees, overcast, but still kind of a nice, muggy New York day.
Wonderful, wonderful. And speaking of the Bronx, you have a new record. I call them records because I'm old. Bronx Cheer.
Bronx Cheer, that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It's coming out. The official release date is November 5th. That's when the full album drops, but we've been putting out singles about one every month or so.
We've been playing them on the show.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think we're on the third one now. We got a fourth one coming up pretty soon. There's going to be 5 singles before the full album drops. So.
Okay.
People will get to hear enough to know if they want to buy the album or not.
And why not? Why should they? And they should.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me about, I understand this record was recorded pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it was, well, yeah, actually all of the recording was done pre-pandemic. So, but then, of course, getting it mixed and mastered and getting it out there was a challenge during the pandemic. So we started recording it in September. It was exactly 2 years ago, 2019. And we recorded the tracks here in Brooklyn. And then we did the overdubs at a couple of different studios. I have a studio in Manhattan. My co-producer, Andrew Hollander, has one as well. And I did some in my home studio the next couple of months. And it was all done by February 2020. And then I went on tour with Michael Monroe, who I play with, in Finland, and about a month later, boom, COVID hit, and I had to come rushing home, and everything just stopped.
Thank goodness you got home.
And then I had to resume, editing and mixing the record, via the internet with my mixer who lives in California. So we were still mixing it as of the summer. And we were, instead of just the usual 3 hours apart from L.A. to New York, we were like 9 hours apart because I was in the Netherlands and he was in California. So it was kind of challenging.
I would say so. Well, Steve Conte, and a lot of this record was performed by your brother and Charlie Drayton, who a lot of our listeners will no doubt know. Oh,
yeah. Charlie is a killer. I mean, just the groove that he lays down. You all know him from so many hit records. Take It So Hard, Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos. That's Charlie on drums. He was in the band. Him and Steve Jordan switched off drums and bass. Mm-hmm. He's the drummer on Love Shack, B-52s, I Touch Myself at the Vinyls. I mean, so many classic groove records. So it's Charlie, and I had the songs picked. I knew I wanted to make like a straight-up rock and soul record, and with a little bit of New York attitude, and I think that's what we did. And I knew that I didn't want to just have a regular good or great rock drummer. I wanted something a little quirkier and weirder, so it would have a certain personality, and Charlie always brings that. He always does things that a regular great rock drummer wouldn't do, so I think he really added a nice twist to this thing. And then we have some other guests as well, which I'm sure we'll get to talking about.
Yeah, I'd like to segue into that right now, because speaking of great rock drummers, you've got Clem Burke as well.
Oh, yeah. He's on the song Gimme Gimme Rockaway, which actually was a single on Wicked Cool Records, which this record is on as well. Mm-hmm. That was my first outing with Wicked Cool. That's a little Stephen Van Zant's label.
Yep.
And that record came out in 2017. And when I was talking to Stephen about the record, I sent him the 10 songs from Bronx Cheer, and he's like, "Oh, these are great, yeah, but you got to put Rockaway on." I was like, "Really? Come on, man. It's already been out." No, it's got to go on. I said, "All right, I'll stick it on at the end." So this way, the 10 songs with me and my brother and Charlie all kind of flow like I wanted them to, and then that's sort of like the bonus track at the end. Gimme Gimme Rockaway. Have you heard that one?
I have. We've played it.
Oh, okay. So now you know. That's Clem, and Clem Burke on drums, and Andy Rourke from the Smiths on bass on that one, and Jesse Mallon singing background with me.
Let's talk about the New York Dolls, and you mentioned it a little bit, but what was that like?
It was an amazing experience. It was one of the few bands that, the guitar player from New York can just step into a ready-made band like that, with a name and a reputation. And I mean, it wasn't the kind of band that I ever thought I'd be in, because I was not really into garage rock and punk, and I mean, I was into glam. I was into T-Rex and Bowie and Mata Hoople and Kiss and Aerosmith, growing up. But as a guitar player, I fancied myself, more of a, Jimmy Page, Hendrix, Beck, like a bluesy lead player. Not so much Thunders is just very almost caveman, Neanderthal, ballsy, passionate, I mean, great for what he did, but it was nowhere near Jeff Beck, and I wanted to be Jeff Beck. So when I got the call for the Dolls, it was like, well, this is a band I've been hearing about my whole life.
Sure.
I always read about them in the rock magazines, and then I read about, of course, the Heartbreakers and the Criminals and David Joe's solo stuff. So I was aware of everything, but I had never played the songs before. And David got my name from a couple of respected guitar players here in town. A guy named Jimmy Vivino, who you might know from the Conan O'Brien show.
Okay.
He was the band leader on that show, and a couple other guys, and they all said the same thing to him. They said, David, just call Conte. He's the right man. He's got the right guitars. He's got the right look. Big hair, big nose, Italian. So David called me up, and he was like, let's meet for lunch. Let's talk about this. And we sat down and hung out for about an hour, and then he handed me an envelope of CDs and sheet music and said, you want to do this gig or what? It was just supposed to be the one gig in London. And I said, sure, let's do it. He never even heard me play a note, but just on the reputations of these other guys, he hired me for the gig, which was amazing. And then, we did the gig, and unfortunately, Arthur Kane died after that. You probably know the story. Mm-hmm. Had the movie New York Doll came out about him, and but the calls just kept coming in. They wanted, the rest of the world wanted to see the Dolls now, so we continued on for 6 more years and made 3 more albums, or they made one after I wasn't in the band anymore. But it was an amazing experience, to be able to step into a band like that already had a name and a reputation, and be able to actually write songs with the band. I co-wrote 8 songs with David Johansen and Sylvain Soulaine, and be able to play on the records, sing on the records, have input in the sound of the band. It just doesn't happen. If I joined Aerosmith tomorrow, it'd be like I'd have probably 5 bosses telling me what to do.
Sure.
But this was a very free experience, and I cherished that experience. It was fantastic.
Talking to Steve Conte, and of course, jumping from that, you've done several albums with Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks.
Yeah, so it just that one thing segued right into the other, because the bass player, Sammy Yapa, who we got after Arthur Kane passed away in the Dolls, was an original member of Hanoi Rocks, and he had started playing with his old pal Michael Monroe again, sort of toward the end of when we were in the Dolls. It was around 2009, 10, and the Dolls weren't working a lot, and I had just had a kid, and I was like, man, I need some more gigs. And so Sammy's like, you want to come in with me and Michael? And I was like, yeah. He said, we have a little tour going up the West Coast, and it was just supposed to be a little tour, a week of gigs, getting paid, and it was a gig for me. And after that, they offered me, they said, hey, you want to be in the band? And I was like, well, I'm still in the Dolls, so I'll see how long I can do both. And we were able to do, both of us were able to do it for a while, but then came time to make the Michael Monroe record, Sensory Overdrive, which is the first one we did. And we were booked in the studio in Los Angeles with producer Jack Douglas, who you know from Aerosmith, John Lennon, and the first Dolls album, of course, he engineered, and Todd Rundgren produced. So we were scheduled to go in to record with Jack Douglas on September 10th, 2010, and the Dolls manager calls us up after we had that all arranged, and he says, okay, guys, we're ready to go. Next record, we're going to go into a studio in England. I said, wait, what next record? We don't even have any songs. He goes, oh, yeah, David and Sil have been working on them without you guys. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. When's the date? And he said, September 10th.
Oh, boy.
It was the exact same date that we were going into record with Jack. So I said, well, I can't do it. So that kind of determined my fate right there, what was going to happen. So they got Frankie Infante from Blondie to play guitar. The producer played bass on that last Dolls record that they did without me. Something about high heels. I can't remember the name of it. And we went ahead and we did the Michael record. We had Lemmy come in and sing on it. Lucinda Williams came in and sang on my birthday, 2010, which was amazing. I got her to come in, and that was the first one we did was with Ginger from Wild Hearts.
Yep.
And then a year later, Ginger left, and Dragon from Backyard Babies and Helicopters came in, and they were all like, well, Ginger wrote most of the songs on the first album. Who's going to write now? And I said, hello. I'm raising my hand, hey, I'm here. And they were like, oh, yeah, you can do that? I'm like, I guess you guys haven't really listened to my records, have you? My solo records. Sure enough, I wrote almost every song on that record. His biggest song ever, Ballad of the Lower East Side, was one I brought in. It was already finished by me. But a lot of the other songs were riffs that Sammy or Dragon came up with, just guitar riffs, and I made them into songs, wrote all the lyrics and melodies. And so that Horns and Halos is that album. Mm-hmm. That's the second one that we did, which is my favorite, I think, not just because I wrote most of the songs on it, but because we really were gelling as a band. We jammed a lot, and a lot of the songs were born out of jams. Then Dragon left, and the next album was Blackout States. We got a new guitar player, Rich Jones, who's currently with us. There was a bit of jamming going on for that one, but it was sort of heading in more of a direction of we finish our songs at home and then bring them in, and the band learns them kind of thing, and which became what the next album, One Man Gang, did. It was a lot of just the band learning songs that Rich and I had written at home, and it became less of a jammy kind of situation. But great songs, and there's a new album we're working on, supposed to go in November to start recording 15 new songs.
God, I can't wait. Those last 4 records were all really great rock and roll records.
Oh, thank you.
For the uninitiated, tell us, what is a Bronx Cheer?
A Bronx Cheer sounds something like this. The old stick the tongue out and make kind of a fart noise. I live in the Bronx, so I liked that as a little joke, but also the cover of the album is a kid at a protest holding up his fist and looking really angry, so I liked the cheer, sort of contrasting with the anger on the kid's face. I am a Libra, so, I'm always all about the balance and the contrast,
Steve, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me, and thanks for listening, folks. You can find me everywhere on the web. SteveConteNYC.com is my website. I'm on Facebook under the same name, Steve Conte NYC is my artist page. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, all the usual places. Bandcamp, YouTube. Just Google me. You'll find me. Please, November 5th. The album comes out, Bronx Cheer, but you can pre-order it right now through Bandcamp, either my Bandcamp page for signed copies of the vinyl. It's going to be translucent yellow vinyl.
Ooh.
Really nice. And it's a gatefold 12-inch LP, so you can open it up and there's a big photo inside, and you can do whatever you do on the inside of gatefold LPs like I used to do when I was a young adult.
The neat thing about Bandcamp, too, is that if you go there now, you get what are called instant gratification tracks, like the things we've been playing on the radio show.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can listen to 4 of the tracks for free, and that's on the Wicked Cool Bandcamp page, Wicked Cool Records. They do sell the vinyl and the CDs, but I sell them from my Bandcamp page signed. You have to go to the merch tab on mine. It's not listed there on the front page or anything, but if you go to the merch tab, you'll find a place link to buy the CD and the vinyl signed from me personally. They come out, they get signed out from my home and sent out from here, and they have a very personal touch. So, or you can just order them from the corporate office. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
As long as you get the music.
Exactly. For Steve Conte, I'm Mark Skaar. This is a Skaar Card on 103.7 The Fox.